We have breaking news from the Montreal Canadiens. They've named themselves a new captain. We'll discuss their decision coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have some breaking news from the Montreal Canadiens early this morning here. We have themselves a new captain, the 31st captain in team history, which will be 23-year-old Nick Suzuki. Of course, there were some rumblings over the course of the weekend that the Montreal Canadiens would possibly make this announcement today. Of course, they do have a golf tournament event going on, so it seemed like a good opportunity to make an announcement if they were going to do so. Obviously, there'd be media around and be able to talk about this further, and obviously it sounded like something they wanted to get done before the season. There were some rumblings that Suzuki already had been offered the captaincy, and there was likely going to be him that was going to be the next team captain. We did hear from Suzuki indicating that it was offered to him around the time of the draft from head coach Marty St. Louis, and he took some time to think about it and decide before accepting, and then he made the decision a while ago, and they figured today was a good time to make that announcement. So obviously the Montreal Canadiens are, one of the most historic franchises in NHL history. Nick Suzuki joins a very, elite group of people who have had the honor to have the C on his jersey in Montreal. Of course, last season they did not have a captain, not something that you see very often, especially in Montreal. I mean, we've seen teams go without a captain in the NHL. There's usually always a few with, players changing teams and things like that, but Montreal is a team that's had a long history of, for the most part, always having a captain. Of course, Shea, the captain of the Montreal Canadiens for, I believe it was the last 4 years that he played, was not able to play last year, and I think they wanted to kind of confirm 100% that he wasn't going to be able to come back before ultimately replacing that and giving that honor to somebody else. Of course, they traded the Shea contract. It was confirmed he would never play again. And so we know now that it was time to move on, and Suzuki is their guy. I've seen some reaction online. For the most part, it appears to be relatively positive. Some are upset that it's not Brendan Gallagher. They did confirm that the two alternate captains this year will be Brendan Gallagher and defenseman Joel Edmondson. I think those are great choices as well. It seems to be the trend right now to go with a younger captain who's got a long-term contract and expected to play a significant role in the team. Obviously, they do have to have good leadership qualities to go with that, and Nick Suzuki certainly seems to be a very mature young man on and off the ice. Seems to carry himself well, seems to have respect of his teammates, obviously respect of his coaches and management. So I think for the most part, this is a good decision. Now, as far as some saying it should have been Gallagher, I know I've seen some comments saying it should have been Gallagher back when Pacioretty was given the honor before Shea Weber, and I wouldn't completely disagree with that. I think Gallagher was definitely in the mix. He's worn an A for a fair bit of time there during his tenure in Montreal. I know there was certainly I think a different point of view back when it was Pacioretty and Subban were essentially co-captains briefly, and then ended up, of course, Subban didn't stay too long, ended up going to Pacioretty be the captain on his own after that. Was Gallagher the better leader? I don't know. There was definitely a little bit of dysfunction in that room, I think, at that time. I know there was a lot that were not in favor of Subban being part of the leadership group, but at the end of the day, Gallagher is a good leader. He doesn't necessarily need to lead. He's a professional. I have no doubt he won't complain or put up a fuss about this in any way, shape, or form. He seems to be, supportive of the young Suzuki, who's been a big part of the team and expected to be the top centerman on the team for quite some time. Like I said, he's under a long-term, fairly lucrative contract. So he said he's the 31st captain in team history, dating back to a lot of the other greats that have had this honor. Before that, you had Weber and Pacioretty. Brian Gionta had a good stretch there. Saku Koivu, Vincent Danfus. They've done co-captains a couple times. 1 year, except it was Pacioretty, Subban. 1 year, Pierre Turgeon. Kirk Muller briefly was captain of Montreal. Guy Carbonneau, Bob Gainey, Serge Savard. I know Chris Chelios was quickly short-term captain or co-captain as well. There was a stretch of time there where it seemed like if you were named captain of the Montreal Canadiens, this is more so in the 90s, that you're going to get traded. They went through quite a stretch there when it went from like Carbonneau to Muller to Keane, Turgeon, Danfus. A lot of those guys didn't have long tenures as captain. because they didn't stay in the city for too long. They ended up getting traded within a year or two of getting the honor to have that C on their jersey. So obviously, like I said, not only those guys, but you go back even further, some of the more historic names to wear the C, get Serge Savard, Yvon Cormier, Henri Bouchard, Maurice Bouchard, Jean Beliveau. Like, it's, like I said, quite a group of people that he's now associated with as wearing the honored C on his jersey in Montreal, one of the most historic franchises in the NHL. So certainly quite an honor for the 23-year-old. Like I said, based on trends in the NHL and how he plays and carries himself, I think this is a good choice. Teams seem to want to have a younger captain for them. Not always, but it makes sense if you have that guy who's ready on a long-term deal. You know he's going to be there a long time. You want some continuity within that. Ideally, you don't want to be having to change your leadership group or your captain all the time. Obviously, there is preference to have somebody who's going to stick around for an extended stretch, and he's expected to do that. So we'll see how this goes, but let me know your thoughts on the choice for Nick Suzuki. Did the Montreal Canadiens make the right choice? Should they have gone to another more veteran player like a Brendan Gallagher, for example, or a Joel Edmondson? Or, what are your thoughts? Let me know down in the comments, and we'll discuss further. Of course, if you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news, rumors, and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.